Welcome, everyone. We were just talking about how still feels like summer, so I hope you guys are all staying cool. But we're happy that you've joined us, the Library Skills webinar team, to present Abby Richards, the English lecturer and director of the Writing Center on the Dothan campus. She'll be discussing APA from an MLA Mind. We'll have a few minutes at the end for Q&A, so please hold your questions till the end when you'll be able to put your questions in the chat, or you can unmute and ask your question. Everyone will get a follow-up email with the recording in the next few days. Now I'm turning it over to Abby.
Hi, everyone. I hope y'all are having a great day. Like Becky said, I'm the director of the Writing Center here on the Dothan campus and an English lecturer. So this is APA from an MLA Mind, meaning I focus on MLA in my teaching and all, but because of running the Writing Center, I do get a lot of APA questions. So here is some of the basics that I use to help students when they come to me. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and start off with in-text citations, specifically short quotes. So a couple of things you need to keep in mind is that these quotes are less than 40 words. You should include them in quotation marks. And then citations should include the author's last name, the year of publication, and the page number in parentheses where you can find the information. These quotes are going to flow in the paragraph like a normal sentence. And then make sure when you are starting your quote that you have, an introductory phrase or a signal phrase that just lets your readers know that you are fixing to include some words that are not your own. So I have a couple of examples on the slide to the right. So according to Weissel, 2006, the head of the camp joined us there. He was a stocky man with big shoulders, the neck of a bull, thick lips, and curly hair. He gave an impression of kindness. And this quote can be found on page 47. So that one has the signal phrase, including the author's last name before the quote itself, and then the one below it is set up a little bit different. So it says, he states, from time to time, a smile would linger in his gray blue eyes. The officer took an interest in them children and gave orders to bring them food, and then ends with the citation. So Weissel, 2006, page 47. However, the kindness did not last long. So I have children in brackets because I omitted some of the words that were in the actual quote. And children is my input so that the reader would know who them was referring to. And then the other type of quote where it's a direct quote is a block quote. So this is anything longer than 40 words. For this one, you will omit the quotation marks. Each line is indented a half an inch, so just a tab. And then the citation includes like the same information as a short quote with the author's last name, the year of publication, and the page number, and as well with the block quote, just like the short quote, you do have to include an introduction phrase or a signal phrase. So I have a couple of examples over to the side. The first one is where I use the author's last name and year of publication as the introduction to the quote, and then the next one does not. And then you can see that each line is indented. Moving on. One thing to note about APA is it is more acceptable to use summaries and paraphrasing than direct quotes than actual, summary and paraphrase over direct quote. So when you summarize, you express the author's ideas in your own words, but in fewer words, You do have to introduce your summary just like you do with a quote, and then you also have to include the citation, so the author's last name, year of publication, and the page number that it comes from. Paraphrase is the same way, only a paraphrase is you're expressing the author's ideas in your own words using about the same number of words as what's used in the actual source. Again, you're going to introduce the paraphrase and include the citation. Reference page contents. So you do have to have a title centered and bolded. So this is will either be a reference if you only have one source or references if you have multiple. And the components of each citation is the author's last name, first and middle initial, and the dates in parentheses. So the date of publication. Each citation will be in alphabetical order by author's last name. You have to include the titles, the place of publication and publisher for books, or the volume, issue, and page number for articles. And you do need to include URLs or DOIs, including their hyperlinks, depending on the source itself, on which one's provided for you. I have provided an example of a book. So it's Weissel E, 2006, Night. M. Weissel as the translator, and then Hill and Wang as the publishers. I also have an example references page. I did borrow this from Purdue OWL. This is what they have put out as one of their examples. You can see how each citation is set as a hanging indent. It's in alphabetical order by the author's last name, and then all of the information is provided. Some common mistakes to avoid is not citing when you paraphrase or summarize, direct quoting too much, incorrectly introducing quotes, and then leaving out a DOI. Often that's left out simply because students don't know what it is, but it's actually the digital object identifier. So it helps the person, anybody who's looking at your paper, find the exact article that you were using specifically if you found it online. And then because APA is so complicated, and as much as I wish I could spend a lot more time going over it, here are a couple of websites. So apastyle.apa.org and owl.purdue.edu. Both of them have a lot of resources that can help students with APA format. It is a lot more complicated than MLA, which is probably why I tend to go towards MLA than I do APA, just because you have to include a lot more information than you would with MLA. So these are two of the resources that I often go towards so that I can make sure I'm giving students the most updated and correct information so that they meet the standards that they have for their assignments.
All right. Well, thank you, Abby, for giving us a in-depth, take on very simple way of looking at APA. You definitely made it easier from what I could tell. I hate APA too. I'm Team Chicago. I don't know if anyone else is Team Chicago. I hope there's somebody else here, Team Chicago. But so a few things, please. If you want to ask a question, type it in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll give you the mic privileges. And then Susan put in the chat about a feedback survey if you guys will please complete that. And then someone just said, can I share, Clay Graham just said, can I share this recording with my English students?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, we have
yes,
someone
I'll
raising their hand.
send it to Susan so that she can include it in the follow-up email.
Okay, Jack wants to ask a question. Jack, I gave you mic privileges, so feel free to unmute and speak if you want. Are you able to unmute, Jack? If you're having issues, feel free to definitely, ask in the chat. Someone said, will the PowerPoint be available after this? I'm not sure. Susan, are you sending
Yeah,
out
I'm
the
gonna send it
PowerPoint
to her.
too? Okay,
Mhm.
cool. So yes, PowerPoint. Someone said I need help with how to reference a PDF form that's available on a website.
Okay, I'm going to post or include my email address for that question. If you want to email me the PDF, Julia, I believe is your name, then I can help you with that.
Yeah.
Also,
And
Clayton,
sorry, go ahead.
Clayton Graham asked if he can share the recording with his
Yes.
students, and yes,
Yes.
you can. Once we get that recording to you in the email, then you can do whatever you would like with it.
And then a lot of people said, helpful information and everything. Jack Blount said possibly not. I will type. Okay, so here's what he wanted to say. Says, firstly, thank you so much. I'm just wondering as to the reason for summary / paraphrasing preference over using the author's words. I sometimes feel the author has the best words possible and that it takes longer to say the same thing or causes issues of potential inaccuracy.
So I'm going to say that if you feel like the author's words are the best, that's when you would direct quote. When you feel like your own words demonstrate the understanding of the material in an effective way, as well as it goes along with the points that you're making, then summary paraphrasing is best. Typically, APA is the reason why they go towards the summary and paraphrasing is just so it cuts down on the use of quotation marks and block quoting as well. That way it stays in your words with also using the expertise of the expert. Did that make sense? Did I answer your question, Jack?
Yeah, he said, okay, that
Okay.
makes sense. Thank you. Just want to make sure. So, does anyone else have any questions? Abby's here all day. You can bombard her with questions.
Absolutely.
I tried to think of the hardest APA question, and then I got distracted. Okay, well, if you will please do that survey that Susan put further up in the chat, and Abby put her email address in there. So if you want to reach out to her one-on-one to ask more questions about APA writing style, you certainly can, and then we'll send you the recording and the PowerPoint within the next few days. So keep a lookout on your email. But thank you all for attending.
Thank you all. Have a great day.